Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
Welcome back to another episode of How Leaders Behave. I have my friend and colleague Peter Agnew with me as always, and today we're going to be talking about the systematic habits of those very deliberate leaders and the benefits and strengths that they bring, as also some of the challenges that they face in the workforce as well. So how have you been, Peter?
Yeah, good, Mark. Nice to see you again.
Thank you very much.
Another unpacking of one of our leadership styles in our 8 dimensions of leadership. Sort of this one is going to be one that's really quite analytical in some ways, sometimes a little bit devoid of emotion, but really on the logic side of the spectrum in some ways as well.
Yeah, they're very private people.
Yeah.
So they're going to find, it's interesting actually, I think the guys that have identified themselves as this style, the deliberate leader, that are watching this episode, would be really great to get some feedback from you guys as well as to what you're learning.
Yeah, and we'll give you a little bit of an address at the end to be able to do that. But Mark, as always, we unpack our 8 dimensions of leadership model. For those of you who have joined us for this episode, we're looking at the sort of 7 or 8 o'clock mark on the clock, and we're moving down into the deliberate leadership area. So Mark, this one really is about that discipline analysis, the analytical work, sometimes a little bit opposite to the energizing leader that's full of emotion and energy. We sort of come down in emotion and energy here in some ways.
Yeah,
as well.
Still in a very introverted perspective, very quiet, very thoughtful, very measured, would appear to be aloof and emotionally unavailable to the wider public, not obviously to their family necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously
there's going to be some real reasons for that as well, which is going to be sort of fun for us to unpack.
We're going to have some fun with this one, absolutely, and hopefully you'll come along for the journey, that's for sure.
Yeah, great. All right, well, let's have a look how it correlates with our DISC model. So we're using 8 dimensions of leadership. We're trying to break leadership down into 8 dimensions, each one of those having 3 practices, but we're looking at some of the underlying psychological drivers of each particular style. So if you're more a C style leadership or a CS style in the DISC profile, and we've talked about this in the first episode of the series, and also in how people behave, is a really good overview of the DISC model. It is just a model. We don't use it to describe everything, but it'll help us break down some of that complexity and give us a point of reference for the way leaders do behave.
I think, though, of all of the styles, probably the easiest to spot. Would you?
Yeah, I think in the way of speed of language, the mannerisms, all of those sorts of things, gestures will be part of
and
that.
Very reserved.
Yeah, much more. Yeah. And I think if you draw the extrovert-introvert scale, it'll probably pop through from the I, being the extroverted side of the model, in the DISC model, through to the C style, which is more the introverted style. So gaining energy from within, nice private space that's a little bit more quiet. Susan Cain writes some great work on this, the power of introverts, and details some of the real aspects of this style of leadership as well. And for us unpacking it, we're looking at the 3 key behaviours that deliberate leaders bring in the way of strength. And so no matter where you are in the 8 dimensions of leadership, which approach you're in, this one will add some really fantastic strengths, particularly around that whole discipline analysis, the quality of work,
well, you've seen that the deliberate analysis directly relates to, therefore, because I know what I'm saying when I communicate it, what I communicate is not only delivered accurately, but the content is completely accurate.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
There's
So when
no
they
chance
speak,
for wrong there.
When they speak, what they say is exactly the way it is.
Yeah. So let's have a walk through and unpack the deliberate leader. So at their best, Mark, we've got a couple of attributes that the deliberate leader really show for us. If we have a look at that, it will be the word discipline. We'll see quite a lot through our episode here, and high quality.
And that's the way they view and judge their world, is who I am being and what I'm doing the highest quality I'm capable of delivering.
Yeah.
And if it's not, the world falls apart.
Yeah, and there's going to be risk, and there could be the whole fear of criticism and so forth. So this is a really important training respects, isn't it? Leaders have to do due diligence. They have to do the homework. They have to really analyse stuff before making decisions. Logic comes in here a lot. The emotions are fine, and we sort of have those gut instincts as leaders. But as leaders, we also need to push back and do the analysis, crunch the numbers, figure out what's the logic showing us about this decision. How do we make a better decision based on the logic?
Yeah, and about that deliberate reproduction of results, time in, time out.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no variables.
It's quite predictable.
We know what's going to happen, and
Yeah.
that's what's really important to these guys, and they're really good at it.
Yeah, there'll be the extreme to this side, and of course, at their worst, we have a number of attributes for the deliberate leader. We talked in a couple of the episodes that are close to this style about that perfection and that risk adverse. And risk is sometimes important in workplaces. To be risk adverse is important, but sometimes to have that leap of faith or taking a little bit of a chance and being adventurous or pioneering is going to be important. So risk adverse, perfectionist leaders who paid little attention to the human element. And this is a hard one because you've got sort of, and I think in Patrick Lencioni's work recently, he talks a little bit about smart organisations versus healthy organisations.
Okay.
You can have smart organisations that are great on the strategy, they work out all of the logic and so forth, they do their due diligence, the numbers are right.
But no one wants to work there.
But no one wants to work there. Yes. Or the human aspect isn't quite attached into, and the emotional side, the politics, all of those sorts of things, the culture, the feel of the place sometimes gets a little bit left out as well. So we've got some work here for the deliberate leaders to really sort of figure out where they need to move their style of leadership.
And I guess the clue is that they can do it because they're doing it with the people with whom they're intimate, their family, spouses, children, obviously very close family. They know what that look and feels like.
Yeah.
It's just there's such a risk doing it with people that they don't know or don't trust.
Yeah, 100%. And people they do know, and that's not knowing them a week or 2 weeks or a month or
years,
a year. It could be years.
Absolutely.
Years as part of that.
Very slow to trust as well.
Yeah, definitely. So to warm up is going to be a big part of that. So they can do it, as you say, but how they do that a little bit more.
And I guess that last bit there. So this is a program about how leaders behave. So we're assuming if you're watching this, you have people in your organization. And the clue there is these people paid little attention to the human element. So I guess it might be important to find out, why your guys come to work every day.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, so let's have a look at great aspects that they bring to this particular, or the attributes we can learn, Mark, from this particular style, because it is one of the 24 behaviours, and this model is so good that if you were to snap leadership down in 24 behaviours, which is a big ask, the research has shown that these 24 behaviours sit across a lot of the literature and a lot of the information that
in fact,
are on leadership.
The DIs and the Is and the SIs struggle with this massively, because they're so spontaneous and they're so intuitive.
Yeah, it's intuition that comes out and it's motion.
Hard to follow.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So this might be a little bit about, are people more informed and understanding when they walk out of the room after having spoken to you than before they walked into the room?
And with these guys, absolutely.
It's clear. It's a crystal clear, high definition picture of what's happening, and there's no ambiguity with it.
It'll be well researched. It will be delivered accurately. It might not be delivered well, but it will be delivered accurately.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
You'll know the communication will be planned in some ways, which is a really great thing. I think for leaders who aren't great at this, it's a little bit about, well, how do you communicate with clarity? How do the leaders in this aspect really get it right? And it's probably just little things like stating the topic before you actually start rattling off on something. Sometimes we're in our own mind, we just blurt out. We know where we're at, we know which chapter we're at and so forth. So for these guys, it's about stating the topic, having some punctuation points. Hey, I'd like to talk to you about 3 issues, and then going through with some bullet points around those particular issues. So it's not a midstream, it's not a I think and I feel, the language isn't wishy-washy. No. It's more accurate and it's more deliberate in some ways.
Absolutely. What have we got next?
Okay, we have, as we move through the slides, the promoting discipline analysis. So we know so many times in leadership that the discipline is a really important factor. I could rattle a few things off for discipline. It will be making sure the budgets are on time, that you're doing the planning and preparation, the homework's being done, you're joining the dots together, all of those sort of things for projects. But there's a huge array that people need to do when it comes to discipline in the workplace as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think that is... It's interesting, and whilst it's one of the greatest strengths, it's also potentially a bit of a pitfall as well, because they can spend so much time here.
Yeah.
It really is their go-to happy place.
Yeah.
That they can spend months.
Yeah, and I think we use the little finished is the new perfect sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's got to be a time where you say, that's good enough. Yeah. I've done enough work into this. I need to move on. But for leaders who are outside of this approach, this is something that sometimes they really need to stretch themselves on. Good enough sometimes isn't good enough. You do have to make sure you get it right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can learn that from these guys. They do it very well.
Yeah, definitely. And then the third one that we would practice, that we would learn from the deliberate leader, is that providing a sense of stability. So again, it's the routine here. It's the predictability of the workplace. It's the policies, the procedures, the rules, all of that sort of glue that holds most organisations together.
And they represent, Mr. and Mrs. credibility.
Yeah.
What they say is what they do, and is what happens.
Yeah. And if you want to challenge a deliberate leader, have your homework done.
Yeah, good luck.
So we've talked a bit about stability, Mark, in our other episodes, and it's probably a little bit about a calm, predictable environment, isn't it? And it's an environment that really they're not too bored with routine. They like going through and doing the routine. There's a sort of element of safety in things that have been done before, and I know that we can replicate that with some certainty. So it's a lower risk.
Yeah, it's a credible, realistic, critical outcome that they know is going to happen because there's no surprises.
Yeah,
it's all nailed to the deck and we're ready to go. There's nothing happening.
So when we talk about accuracy, there's probably a number of underlying psychological reasons why accuracy is going to be important to them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite an interesting one actually. If you read the chapter on the deliberate leader, it talks about I am valued and I am worthy of being liked and loved, providing I am credible and what I do is accurate.
Yeah.
Which is
so if others, I get it right, I am credible, and that's important to me in the way of
and
how
for others
that's
quite anathema, I suppose.
So these style of leadership, they'll judge others by their expertise in some ways, won't they? It won't be about their energy or their enthusiasm or their emotional characteristics. It will be about logic and very exact standards in some ways.
And often not even about getting it done.
Yeah.
It's about how you get it done.
How the quality of it's done.
So whether you achieve it ta-da,
you
need to show your workings.
Show the maths in some ways.
Yeah.
So the overuses can be a little bit about too much analysis, trying to get the ducks in a row, some turkey flies past sort of stuff. The finished is the new perfect is probably some of our rhetoric around that. A little bit reticent in some ways, and sometimes the speed aspect will come in here, isn't it? Let's move ahead cautiously. Let's not go out guns blazing like the commanding or the pioneering leader. Let's think this through. Let's crunch the numbers. Let's look at the logic.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.